The starship descended through Earth's atmosphere like a wounded beast, its hull scorched and flickering with the faint glow of failing energy shields. Commander Valen of the Zorathian Alliance gripped the control panel, his three-fingered hands trembling as he guided the vessel toward the designated landing site. The ship's AI, its voice strained and staticky, warned of critical damage to the propulsion systems. Valen ignored it. He had no choice. Earth was his last hope, and the KRYLL Empire was closing in. The landing was rough, the ship skidding across the tarmac of a remote military base in the Nevada desert. Dust and debris billowed into the air as the vessel came to a shuddering halt. Inside, Valen unstrapped himself from the pilot's seat, his elongated limbs stiff from hours of tense flight. His silver, scale-like skin glistened under the dim emergency lights, and his large, almond-shaped eyes scanned the interior of the ship. The once pristine command center was now a mess of shattered consoles and sparking wires. He grabbed a small, crystalline data device, the reason for his mission, and secured it in a pouch on his belt. Time was running out. Outside, the humans were already waiting. A convoy of armored vehicles surrounded the ship, their headlights cutting through the settling dust. Soldiers in tactical gear aimed their weapons at the vessel, their faces hidden behind visors. Valen took a deep breath, his chest expanding slightly as he prepared to face them. He had studied human culture and history during his journey to Earth, but nothing could fully prepare him for this moment. Humans were unpredictable, a species capable of both great compassion and devastating violence. He hoped today they would choose the former. The ship's hatch hissed open, and Valen stepped out, raising his hands in what he hoped was a universal gesture of peace. The soldiers tensed, their fingers hovering over their triggers. A man in a suit, flanked by two high-ranking military officers, stepped forward. His name was Dr. Elias Carter, a senior advisor to the United Nations Extraterrestrial Relations Committee. Carter's sharp eyes studied Valen with a mix of curiosity and caution. "Commander Valen," Carter said, his voice calm but firm, "you've caused quite a stir. Care to explain why you've landed on our planet without prior authorization?" Valen inclined his head slightly, a gesture of respect. "Dr. Carter, I apologize for the intrusion, but my mission is urgent. My people are at war with the KRYLL Empire, and we are losing. If we fall, Earth will be their next target. I have come to ask for your help." The soldiers exchanged uneasy glances, but Carter's expression remained unreadable. "The KRYLL Empire," he repeated slowly. "We've heard rumors of their expansion, but nothing concrete. Why should we believe you?" Valen reached into his pouch and retrieved the crystalline device. With a tap, it projected a holographic image into the air, a star map showing the KRYLL's relentless advance through the galaxy. Planets marked in red had been conquered or destroyed, their populations enslaved or exterminated. The Zorathian homeworld, Zorath Prime, was encircled, its defenses crumbling under the KRYLL's overwhelming force. "This is not just our war," Valen said, his voice tinged with desperation. "The KRYLL do not negotiate or coexist. They consume. They destroy. If you wait until they reach your borders, it will be too late." Carter studied the hologram, his brow furrowed. "Even if we believed you," he said after a long pause, "why should we risk our people for a conflict light years away? What do we gain from helping you?" Valen hesitated. He had anticipated this question, but the answer still felt inadequate. "We can offer you technology," he said. "Advanced propulsion systems, energy sources, medical breakthroughs. But more than that, you would gain an ally. The Zorathian Alliance does not forget its debts." The silence that followed was heavy, broken only by the distant hum of the ship's failing systems. Carter turned to the military officers, speaking in low tones. Valen couldn't hear their words, but he could guess their concerns. Trusting an alien species was a gamble, and the stakes were impossibly high. Finally, Carter turned back to him. "This isn't a decision we can make lightly," he said. "We'll need to convene a global council to discuss your request. In the meantime, you'll be taken to a secure facility. If you're telling the truth, you have nothing to fear." Valen nodded, though the idea of being detained made his skin crawl. He had no choice but to comply. As the soldiers escorted him to a waiting vehicle, he glanced back at his ship. It was a relic now, a symbol of his people's desperation. He only hoped the humans would see it as a call to action rather than a warning. The Global Council convened within hours, its members connected via holographic projections from every corner of the planet. Valen stood at the center of the room, a lone figure surrounded by the most powerful leaders on Earth. The tension was palpable, the air thick with skepticism and fear. Dr. Carter opened the proceedings, summarizing Valen's plea and presenting the evidence he had provided. The holographic star map loomed large in the center of the room, its crimson markers a stark reminder of the KRWL's brutality. One by one, the leaders voiced their concerns. Some questioned the authenticity of Valen's claims, while others argued that Earth should focus on its own defenses rather than intervening in an alien war. Valen listened patiently, his heart sinking with each objection. He had expected resistance, but the sheer scale of it was daunting. Then, a voice cut through the noise. A woman with sharp features and a commanding presence. Her name was General Amara Patel, the head of Earth's Unified Defense Forces. "We can't afford to ignore this," she said, her tone firm. "If the KRWL are as dangerous as Commander Valen claims, we'll need every advantage we can get. Sitting back and waiting for them to come to us is suicide. We have to take the fight to them." Her words sparked a heated debate, but gradually, the tide began to turn. The leaders recognized the gravity of the situation and the potential benefits of an alliance with the Zorathians. After hours of deliberation, a decision was reached. Earth would assist the Zorathians, but only if they shared their technology and guaranteed humanity's safety. As the team prepared to depart, Valen found himself standing on the tarmac once again, this time beside a sleek, human-designed starship. The vessel was a symbol of humanity's potential, a testament to their ability to rise to the occasion. Hale joined him, his expression grim but determined. "Ready to save the galaxy?" Hale asked, a hint of a smile playing on his lips. Valen nodded. "Ready." The ship's engines roared to life, lifting off into the sky with a trail of fire. Below, the Earth grew smaller and smaller, a fragile blue dot in the vastness of space. Valen felt a pang of uncertainty, but also a glimmer of hope. The road ahead would be fraught with danger, but for the first time in a long while, he believed victory was possible. As the starship entered hyperspace, the crew braced themselves for what lay ahead. The KRWL Empire was a formidable foe, but humanity had proven time and time again that they were capable of the impossible. Together, they would face the darkness, and perhaps, just perhaps, they would emerge victorious. The starship emerged from hyperspace with a shudder, its sleek human-designed hull glinting under the light of a distant sun. Before them loomed Zorath Prime, the heart of the Zorathian Alliance, now a planet under siege. The once vibrant world was shrouded in a haze of smoke and debris, its surface scarred by the relentless bombardment of the KRWL Empire. Commander Valen stood on the bridge, his silver-scaled hands clenched into fists as he surveyed the devastation. Lieutenant Marcus Hale stood beside him, his sharp eyes scanning the tactical displays. "This is worse than I expected," Hale muttered, his voice low but steady. "They've got the planet surrounded." Valen nodded grimly. "The KRWL don't believe in half measures. They'll keep attacking until there's nothing left." The crew of the human starship, now christened the Dauntless, worked swiftly to establish communication with the Zorathian forces. The ship's advanced systems, a blend of human ingenuity and Zorathian technology, allowed them to bypass the KRWL's jamming signals. Within minutes, a holographic image of a Zorathian general flickered to life on the bridge. His name was General Corin, a seasoned warrior with a reputation for unyielding resolve. "Commander Valen," Corin said, his voice tinged with relief. "We weren't sure you'd make it back." "I brought reinforcements," Valen replied, gesturing to Hale and the human crew. "This is Lieutenant Marcus Hale of Earth's Unified Defense Forces. They've agreed to assist us." Corin's gaze shifted to Hale, his expression unreadable. "Humans," he said, the word heavy with skepticism. I hope they're as resourceful as you claim. Hale stepped forward, his posture confident but respectful. We're here to help, General. But we'll need to know everything you can tell us about the KRYLL's tactics and weaknesses. Corrin hesitated, then nodded. Very well. We'll transmit the data to your ship. But be warned, the KRYLL are unlike any enemy you've faced. They adapt quickly, and they show no mercy. The transmission ended, and the bridge fell silent. Hale turned to Valen, his brow furrowed. He doesn't trust us. He has no reason to, Valen replied. But he will, once he sees what you can do. The data from the Zorathians painted a grim picture. The KRYLL's forces were vast and highly organized, their ships equipped with advanced weaponry and cloaking technology. Their ground troops were even more terrifying, bioengineered soldiers with exoskeletons capable of withstanding heavy fire. The KRYLL's strategy was simple but effective. Overwhelm their enemies with sheer numbers and relentless aggression. Hale studied the information carefully, his mind racing. They're predictable, he said at last. They rely on their strength and numbers, but they don't adapt well to unconventional tactics. If we can disrupt their command structure, we might be able to turn the tide. Valen tilted his head, intrigued. What do you have in mind? Hale grinned. A little trick we call divide and conquer. The plan was risky, but it was their best shot. The Dauntless would lead a small fleet of Zorathian ships in a daring assault on the KRYLL's command vessel, a massive warship known as the Dreadstar. Meanwhile, a team of human and Zorathian soldiers would infiltrate the KRYLL's ground forces, sabotaging their supply lines and creating chaos. As the fleet prepared for the assault, Hale found himself in the ship's armory, checking his gear. Valen entered, his movements silent and deliberate. You're not what I expected, he said, his voice soft. Hale looked up, surprised. What did you expect? I'm not sure, Valen admitted. But not this. You're different from the humans I've read about. Hale chuckled. We're full of surprises. Just wait, you haven't seen anything yet. The battle began with a burst of light and sound as the Dauntless and its allies engaged the KRYLL fleet. The KRYLL's ships were fast and heavily armed, but the human Zorathian forces fought with a ferocity that caught the enemy off guard. Hale's plan to disrupt their command structure was working. The KRYLL's movements became erratic, their coordination faltering. On the ground, the infiltration team moved swiftly through the chaos. Hale led the group, his instincts sharp and his aim true. Valen fought beside him, his Zorathian agility and strength proving invaluable. Together, they sabotaged the KRYLL's supply depots and communication hubs, sowing confusion among the enemy ranks. But the KRYLL were not easily defeated. As the battle raged on, the Dreadstar unleashed a devastating weapon, a beam of energy that tore through the Zorathian fleet, leaving destruction in its wake. The Dauntless narrowly avoided the blast, its shields flickering under the strain. We need to take that ship out, Hale said, his voice tight with urgency. Now. Valen nodded. Agreed. But how? Hale's eyes gleamed with determination. We board it. The boarding party was small but skilled, a mix of human and Zorathian soldiers. They approached the Dreadstar under the cover of debris, their ship's cloaking technology masking their presence. As they docked with the enemy vessel, the tension was palpable. This was the moment of truth. The team moved through the Dreadstar's corridors with precision, their weapons at the ready. The KRYLL soldiers they encountered were formidable, but the humans' unconventional tactics and the Zorathians' combat prowess gave them the edge. Hale and Valen fought side by side, their bond growing stronger with each passing moment. At last, they reached the ship's command center. The KRYL commander, a towering figure with a carapace-like exoskeleton, turned to face them. His eyes glowed with a cold, calculating intelligence. You are brave, the commander said, his voice a deep, guttural rumble. But bravery will not save you. Hale stepped forward, his weapon raised. We'll see about that. The battle that followed was fierce and brutal. The KRYL commander was a formidable opponent, his strength and speed unmatched. But Hale and Valen fought with everything they had, their determination unyielding. In the end, it was Hale's quick thinking that turned the tide. He used the KRWL's own weapon against them, triggering a chain reaction that crippled the Dreadstar. As the ship began to collapse around them, the team made their escape, racing back to the Dauntless with seconds to spare. The Dreadstar exploded in a blinding flash of light, its destruction sending shockwaves through the KRWL fleet. Back on the Dauntless, the mood was one of cautious triumph. The KRWL's command structure had been shattered, their forces thrown into disarray. But the war was far from over. Hale stood on the bridge, his body aching but his spirit unbroken. Valen joined him, his expression one of quiet gratitude. "You were right," he said. "Humans are full of surprises." Hale smiled. "And we're just getting started." As the Dauntless prepared for its next mission, the crew felt a renewed sense of purpose. The KRWL were a formidable enemy, but together, humans and Zorathians had proven that they could stand against them. The road ahead would be long and fraught with danger, but for the first time, victory seemed within reach. And in the darkness of space, a new alliance was forged, one that would change the course of the galaxy forever. The destruction of the Dreadstar sent shockwaves through the KRWL fleet, their once coordinated assault devolving into chaos. But the victory was fleeting. The KRWL were not a species to retreat or surrender. They regrouped with terrifying speed, their forces converging on Zorath Prime with renewed ferocity. Commander Valen and Lieutenant Marcus Hale stood on the bridge of the Dauntless, their eyes fixed on the tactical displays that lit up with the crimson markers of enemy ships. "They're not backing down," Hale said, his voice tight with frustration. "If anything, they're angrier." Valen's silver-scaled hands tightened on the console. "The KRWL don't feel anger. They feel nothing but the drive to conquer. Destroying their command ship was a setback, not a defeat." Hale glanced at him, his sharp eyes narrowing. "Then we'll have to hit them harder. We need a plan, something they won't see coming." The bridge buzzed with activity as the crew worked to analyze the KRWL's movements. The Human-Zorathian alliance had proven its worth in the battle for the Dreadstar, but the cost had been high. Ships were damaged, supplies were running low, and the toll on the soldiers' morale was palpable. Hale knew they couldn't afford another prolonged engagement. They needed to end this quickly and decisively. The plan came together in a flurry of late-night strategy sessions and hurried consultations with Zorathian generals. Hale proposed a daring strike at the heart of the KRWL's operations, a massive orbital station that served as their primary staging ground. Destroying it would cripple their ability to launch further attacks, but the station was heavily fortified, its defenses designed to repel even the most determined assault. "It's a suicide mission," General Corrin said bluntly during one such meeting, his holographic image flickering on the bridge. "Even with your unconventional tactics, the odds are not in our favor." Hale leaned forward, his expression unwavering. "We don't need odds. We just need one shot. If we can get inside, we can take it down from within." Valen nodded in agreement. "The KRWL rely on their technology. If we can disable their shields and weapon systems, our fleet can finish the job." Corrin hesitated, his gaze shifting between Hale and Valen. Finally, he sighed. "Very well. But know this, if you fail, Zorath Prime falls." The mission began under the cover of a simulated asteroid field, the Dauntless and a small strike team slipping past the KRWL sensors with the help of Zorathian cloaking technology. The orbital station loomed ahead, a monstrous structure of blackened metal and pulsating energy conduits. Hale led the team, his movements precise and deliberate, while Valen followed close behind, his Zorathian agility and strength a constant reassurance. The infiltration was fraught with tension. The station's corridors were eerily silent, the only sound the faint hum of machinery and the occasional distant clang of metal. The team moved swiftly, their weapons at the ready, but the KRWL were not caught off guard for long. Alarms blared, and the station's bioengineered soldiers emerged from the shadows, their exoskeletons gleaming under the harsh artificial light. The firefight was brutal. Hale's team fought with everything they had, their human ingenuity and Zorathian combat skills complementing each other in a deadly dance. Valen moved like a shadow, his strikes precise and lethal, while Hale's quick thinking and adaptability kept the team one step ahead of the enemy. But the KRYLL were relentless, their numbers seemingly endless. "We can't keep this up," one of the human soldiers shouted, his voice strained with exhaustion. Hale gritted his teeth, his mind racing. "We don't have to. We just need to reach the control room." The control room was a fortress within a fortress, its doors reinforced and guarded by a contingent of KRYLL elites. Hale and Valen exchanged a glance, a silent understanding passing between them. This was it, the moment that would determine the fate of Zorath Prime, and perhaps the entire galaxy. The battle that followed was a blur of motion and sound. Hale's team fought with a desperation born of necessity, their every move calculated to buy time. Valen's strength and speed were pushed to their limits, his silver-scaled skin glistening with exertion. Hale himself was a whirlwind of action, his weapon firing with unerring accuracy as he directed the team with sharp, concise commands. At last, they breached the control room. The KRYLL commander within was a towering figure, his exoskeleton bristling with weaponry. He turned to face them, his eyes glowing with cold, calculating intelligence. "You are persistent," the commander said, his voice a deep, guttural rumble. "But persistence will not save you." Hale stepped forward, his weapon raised. "We'll see about that." The fight was fierce and unrelenting. The KRYLL commander was a formidable opponent, his strength and speed unmatched. But Hale and Valen fought with everything they had, their determination unyielding. In the end, it was Hale's quick thinking that turned the tide. He used the KRYLL's own systems against them, triggering a cascade of failures that brought the station's defenses crashing down. "Now!" Hale shouted, his voice cutting through the chaos. Valen didn't hesitate. He activated the station's self-destruct sequence, the console lighting up with a series of ominous warnings. The team made their escape, racing through the station's corridors as the countdown ticked away. The KRYLL pursued them, but the station's systems were failing, their movements slowed by the chaos. The explosion was blinding, a burst of light and energy that lit up the void of space. The orbital station was reduced to debris, its destruction sending shockwaves through the KRYLL fleet. Without their staging ground, the enemy forces were thrown into disarray, their coordination shattered. Back on the Dauntless, the mood was one of cautious triumph. The KRYLL were retreating, their ships disappearing into hyperspace as quickly as they had come. But the cost of victory was high. The human Zorathian alliance had suffered heavy losses, and the scars of battle would linger for years to come. Hale stood on the bridge, his body aching but his spirit unbroken. Valen joined him, his expression one of quiet gratitude. "You were right," he said. "Humans are full of surprises." Hale smiled, though his eyes were heavy with exhaustion. "And we're just getting started." As the Dauntless prepared to return to Zorath Prime, the crew felt a renewed sense of purpose. The KRYLL were a formidable enemy, but together, humans and Zorathians had proven that they could stand against them. The road ahead would be long and fraught with danger, but for the first time, victory seemed within reach. And in the darkness of space, a new alliance was forged, one that would change the course of the galaxy forever.